With Nigeria's oil benchmark at $62 a barrel, 2022 looked promising for the country's oil sector, with oil selling at $86 a barrel in January. With the Russia-Ukraine war, which began in February, oil prices inched higher, selling as high as $117 per barrel during the year. But none of these gains would translate to economic prosperity for a country whose economic mainstay is highly dependent on proceeds from oil. I'm Oni Sunday, and in less than 30 minutes, I'll take you through key highlights that marked Nigeria's energy sector in 2022.
This is before.
Yes.
So you are featuring it.
We are featuring it. You can see.
The import, distribution and sale of petrol high in ethanol was the start of the crisis for the sector.
The Rice News source said the tainted fuel came from a group of ports collectively referred to as ARA, Amsterdam, Rotterdam and Antwerp, which is also corroborated by Mele Kyari. But before that oil is offloaded and given to marketers, it has to be tested to make sure it meets Nigeria's specifications. In Europe, methanol in petrol must not exceed 3%, but Nigeria doesn't have a methanol specification, and it's believed Litasco allegedly took advantage of this loophole, knowingly selling cargoes of petrol with harmful levels of methanol.
NNPC received a report from a quality inspector on the presence of emulsion particles in the PMS cargoes shipped to Nigeria from Antwerp, Belgium. NNPC investigations revealed the presence of methanol in 4 of the PMS cargoes imported by our DSTP suppliers, including MRS, Emadev High Energy, AY McKiffy, Britannia U Consortium, Oando, and also our own company, Dick Oil.
I don't want to pass blames, but I also want to take responsibility because this is our work. I've just been 3 months on the job now. So it's part of all the learning curves, and we are learning, and we will take the learning forward.
As claims and counterclaims trailed investigations to unravel how contaminated fuel got into the Nigerian market, motorists who had purchased the bad fuel were worse off.
I want to buy fuel with my car, so immediately I left there. I moved my vehicle change sound, and I discovered, what is happening? I bought fuel, my gauge is working, and I discovered that my fuel is not working well. I now open my car, check, I discovered that it's a bad fuel. Next, these people that bought fuel from there also, the same thing, they complain. So along there, I threw the fuel away. Then I went to buy another fuel, pour on my car, but my fuel pump is bad. They spoiled my fuel pump.
I believe that there are inspections at the point of loading of this petroleum product. Who are those responsible for inspection at that point? Did they actually perform their responsibility? And I believe that there is inspection at the point of loading, because I don't believe that this PMS was adulterated on the high sea. It probably was adulterated right from the refinery. And so we have to hold our regulatory agencies responsible.
We have identified the supplier, and as a regulator, we are going to impose sanction appropriate to this default. Similarly, NNPC is going to put their own sanctions, commercial sanctions, in line with the contractual obligations between the two parties.
To control damage, fuel stations halted the sale of PMS. The impact had a devastating effect on transportation in the country. As authorities scrambled to make up for the loss in sale and distribution, the mother of all fuel queues ensued across the country.
In the name of God, please, I beg you. Please, I beg you. Give me fuel, please. Give me fuel. Give me fuel, bro. Give me fuel. I thought you should give me fuel, please.
Yeah, I've been here. I've already spent 1 hour plus here. It's not fair. You can see I'm sweating. It's not fair.
I was coming from all the way from Marina to come here to come and get fuel. Yet I can't get the fuel. It's very bad. As you can see, you are the one causing traffic in this area.
With the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war in February, oil prices hit $97 per barrel and sold as high as $117 a barrel in March, higher than Nigeria's oil benchmark for 2022. those gains meant nothing. With no functioning refinery, the country had bigger issues of supply and distribution to deal with.
This has released from the strategic stock from Soleje Depot. If you're talking about the FCT area, effort is being made to bridge from the southern depots onto the northern consumers. And like I said earlier, all these things is being done with very keen interest.
The current PMS scarcity is partly caused by lack of funds to run the trucks profitably. Many transporters have decided to park their trucks, and I am sure that many more will park theirs in due course. If something drastic about increasing the freight rate is not promptly done.
In the weeks that followed, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company rose to the occasion with around-the-clock supply and monitoring to end the incessant queues for PMS.
We are happy normalcy is returning. We are loading product all over the country in all the depots 24 hours. Truck numbers are increasing. Normalcy is returning gradually. We have seen the situation in Lagos and Abuja have greatly improved. We are very sure that normalcy will return very soon. That is why we are here to ensure that our stations sell 24 hours. And not only that, to make sure that normalcy quickly returns to our country.
We had 35 days supply stock nationally. We are focused on three main things: making sure, first of all, that vessels are discharged promptly and tested. And secondly, as they're discharged into the coastal depots, we're also working towards trucking out very promptly up country. For most parts, it might take 2 to 3 days given the conditions of the road, but those truckouts are moving.
As things were gradually returning to normalcy, Nigerians were far from catching a break, as power generation companies under the Association of Power Generation Companies announced that Nigeria will remain in darkness except the federal government pays up what is owed them since 2013. A whopping 1.6 trillion naira. With a power outage, tougher times set in for everyone, with residents, businesses and motorists now heavily dependent on diesel, which became scarce as a result of low refining capacity and the war in Russia and Ukraine. The commodity, which sold for 224 naira per litre in January, sold for as high as 600 naira per litre in March.
We are interstate drivers. When we buy full tank here, along the way, we are not seeing normal price buying along the way. And price that we are carrying in the park is the same price. So we have no opportunity to increase for price.
I'm trying my best not to increase the prices so we don't chase the customers away. I'm also worried about my staff because if they are buying things more expensive, cost of transportation is more expensive for them. That means at some point very soon, I need to look at a salary review. But if we're not making more money because we're spending more money on diesel and maintenance, electricity, even AEDC, they didn't announce it, but there was a slight increase in their tariff. So when I'm spending more money on my overheads and I'm not making more money, the business has been taking the hits for the past, almost 9 weeks, but that's not sustainable.
The person come meet me, he say get load to Lagos. I tell him 200,000, you no pay. Anybody ask why I carry load to go Enugu, you no pay money. So this is don't cost.
The crisis in the sector ran deep. The call for an end to oil theft was louder than ever before in the months that followed. It is on record that Nigeria lost over $2 billion to oil theft between January and August 2022. At some point, it was producing half of its OPEC quota as major oil trunk lines were shut down due to activities of oil thieves and pipeline vandals. In July, the country recorded zero revenue from crude export.
This is happening all across our trunk lines, and the meaning of this is that operations are being shut down, investments are being driven out of our country, more than anything else is that ultimately, around here, you can have a serious crisis of environment in this place. And we're doing everything possible to make it work. Mr. President's directive, we are very, very clear that take care of this, get this out. so that we can come back to normalcy.
What you see behind me is the remains of an artisanal or modular refinery that once was in Iba River State. It has been destroyed by security agencies. Unfortunately, the impact remains. And from what's going on behind me, it could remain for weeks until the oil passed illegally into this very tank dissipates. Authorities here say that could really take weeks.
The truth of the matter is that they puncture the pipe upstream and now inject water downstream. So that maintains the pressure of the pipeline.
Well, I wouldn't deny that security agencies have been complicit. And I think that's the reason why I said our approach is going to be very comprehensive. And that's why we're here. And of course, I've also told, members of the armed forces, I'm going to be ruthless with anyone that is found to have engaged in the malfeasance.
In a couple of weeks, the fuel queues were back like they never left. In the Federal Capital Territory, it had become a norm. The NNPC blamed the queues witnessed by mid-year on panic buying. But who would blame commuters? Just 7 months into the year, it had happened one time too many. This time, it wasn't a question of supply. The Independent Marketers Association of Nigeria had a few things to get off their chest.
The landing cost is about 14 naira per litre. So if you add it to PMS, buying the depot price and selling here is too high. So if you bring it at 40 and you buy at 155 plus 14 naira, which is 195. So you come and say 165. Who will do that business? It's at a loss. So even with the PEF, you will not get the product to Abuja. So the answer to your question is the diesel is the reason.
Key issue to this issue is that there is a huge amount of money owed to the members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria by the federal government of Nigeria. Those monies are holding up members' monies and capacity to bring these products. If the members don't have money, they can't pay for these products.
While the powers that be had scores to settle, efforts made by the government to resolve the situation yielded little or no results, as the simple act of getting fuel became a survival of the fittest in Abuja. Meanwhile, every episode ushered in a new pump price of petrol.
There's fuel in NIPCO filling station, but the management of this one in this particular airport road, they are encouraging touts, and you can see the touts here, organizing a line for them on their own money, and that is why people are wasting time to see. You can, when you video, you see them forming a line. People will pay 1,500. We have been staying in this line for more than 2 hours.
Emboldened by narcotics and with no one to stop them, business thrives. For those who try to cheat them, they dare you to drive over their blockade. Everyone is in business. Money determines entrance or exit.
If you collect 500 naira or 1,000 naira, can you come here? Manager, no need to manager say you allow the motors enter. Now we by ourselves, because we are indigent for the place, 18 years ago, I'm living for Kochogoro and I'm a youth leader for those Hausa people. So I'll go tell manager, say, so this motors where we put now, our motor, shortcut, so if he say no, we go leave them. I will say, you come. The time when they want open the gate, this two light enter. We go block this two light, open this light, two light make them enter because we already collect their money. We know one collect person money, didn't put it inside.
But if you do like that, they know they stop you. And maybe you get the station.
And maybe we get the station now. Then when they get the station, now we build them. Now we foundation, from the foundation to a place that concrete. All now we do the work.
Nigeria's aviation sector was also a victim of the energy crisis that rocked the country in 2022, as airlines ground to a halt following the scarcity of aviation fuel. A new price regime was introduced as airfares, which formerly sold for as low as 20,000 naira, now sold for as high as 80,000 naira.
It's not a supply issue at all. I mean, it's just a global problem. You know that the problem in Ukraine and Russia has actually exacerbated the rise in prices.
You can't import fuel more efficiently than the cartels that control that business. So if you think you're going to get a license and get the product cheap from the same people like distributing the products in this economy are the ones producing that in the other economy. So unless we actually solve the problem within our own economy, economy, there is no real benefit to an oil import license for the airline industry.
What you buy is not what you buy at 12 noon. It has been like that over the years. But what happened in the last 2 weeks, unbelievable. From 190 naira to a liter, the thing jumped to 300 and something, from there to 450. And we thought that was, very alarming. Only for us to wake up 2 days ago, it became 599. The following morning, I bought 670. We cannot operate this way.
Why are we trying to compromise our safety? It's a critical issue. Who is bringing this fuel? And what price are they bringing? Somebody has to regulate them. And the man in the consumer protection that is talking, you cannot hammer the airlines. Because the airlines, we are only taking from other people. You are not saying that let us not increase prices.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, there's more to see on key highlights that marked Nigeria's energy sector in 2022. Welcome back. Still on key highlights that marked Nigeria's energy sector in 2022. The month of July was quite noteworthy for Nigeria's oil sector. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Barkindo died hours after delivering a powerful speech on Africa's energy transition at an oil and gas conference in Abuja.
Yet our industry is now facing huge challenges along multiple fronts, and these threaten our investment potential now and in the long term. To put it bluntly, my dear friends, the oil and gas industry is under siege.
You've got energy for today, energy for tomorrow, bigger than yesterday.
The egg has finally cracked. Energy for today, energy for tomorrow.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation transitioned fully into a commercial company and became known as the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited.
Indeed, is a new day, a new hope, and a new opportunity to upscale our relevance in the global energy community as Africa's largest energy company, endowed with the best human resources one can find anywhere in the industry.
I was privileged to lead the creation of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation on the 1st of July, 1977. 44 years later, I was again privileged to sign the Petroleum Industry Act in 2021. Coincidentally, on the 1st of July 2022, I authorized transfer of assets from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to its successor company, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited.
The month of August offered some respite as electricity workers suspended their nationwide strike, which had thrown the country into a total blackout following assurances that government will address their grievances. The federal government, on the other hand, justified its inability to achieve the promised target of 5,000 megawatts of electricity generation for the country.
We have been asked to suspend our action, and when you suspend an action, you can recall it any moment. We want to believe that the government will handle these matters in good faith, as some of them have lingered to a very dangerous point. We will not wait again for 1 year or 6 months or 2 years to renew our action if the contents of what we agree today are not implemented.
The respite was short-lived as the price of cooking gas increased. While figures from the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics showed that cooking gas rose by over 100% year-on-year, businesses were yet to recover from the sudden spike recorded at the start of 2022.
I buy 12.5, but right now, because of the increase in the price, I have to come back to 3 kg at least for it to survive now.
This code that you are using, is it more affordable, or have they also increased it too?
It's what I can afford as for now. Because gas is very, very expensive. I can't afford it. I abandoned it. Even the code itself is very, very expensive. The quarter of it is 1,000 naira. Bag of it is 4,000, 4,500.
How much was it before?
1,500, 1,200, 1,300. but now it's 4,500 naira, 4,000 naira.
The moment the gas coming to the country is just about 1.5 BCF of gas out of our total production currently of about 7 BCF. So there's a lot of demand for gas.
The biggest challenge is infrastructure. Infrastructure is the biggest challenge, and the government should allow private sector partner with them.
With oil prices steady at $100 per barrel at the end of the third quarter of 2022, Nigeria's production level was still below its OPEC quota of 1.8 million barrels per day. Producing 700,000 barrels per day, it is no surprise the government intensified efforts to curb the menace once and for all. In the months that followed, a series of illegal pipelines were uncovered in Nigeria's Niger Delta region.
A lot of speculations, there are a lot of allegations, but one thing is paramount, is that Nigeria is bleeding, and the people that are bleeding Nigeria out are Nigerians.
There are significant collaboration between the players, between the community, between the security agencies, and between everybody in the space. And what you heard from the CDS today is that nobody will be spared. Whoever that has anything to do with this, they will follow every legitimate means to bring the person to book.
As the move to curb oil theft continued across Nigeria, a 1,500 metric ton vessel known as DMA was set ablaze by operatives of the Operation Delta Safe Joint Task Force in Delta State, along with Tantita Services, to send a strong message to oil thieves.
In the past, we have seen the ship, but we didn't have the platform to be able to legally apprehend the vessel. As you know, everything is about jurisdiction and empowerment to do so. We didn't, but we never stopped because it's our country. We love our country, so we'll continue to watch it, no doubt about it. You know, and it's our region too. I mean, you saw the devastation caused by this type of business. So we have never stopped looking at all of these things. We have more under our watch list, no doubt about it. But what we are using this medium to plead is that they should just stop.
This exposure has further iterated and affirmed the fact that sometimes you need a non-state user or non-state partners in this oil and gas sector in Nigeria, because sometimes there could be compromise from government and top government functionaries.
What I'm standing on, the major pipeline you see behind me, is a 48-inch Forcados export line. This line takes crude oil out of Nigeria. The oil flowing through this pipe is said to be the best oil any oil thief can lay their hands on, because the oil has already been treated. Now, what's mind-boggling about this particular discovery is the fact that just a stone throw away is a security checkpoint.
While the Nigerian National Petroleum Company engaged the services of Tantita security outfit for ground surveillance along with the country's military, Arise got an exclusive access to the technology employed to reverse the trend in the shortest time possible. Here at the NNPC Command and Control Center, which became operational in February 2022, the technology employed here has made it easy to identify these oil thieves and apprehend them as well. Now, since installation, taking a look at this board, we can clearly see that about 396 illegal refineries have been identified and deactivated. About 413.6 thousand barrels of crude have also been recovered. Here we see 30.5 million liters of diesel also recovered. Now here 461.8 thousand liters of petrol has also been recovered. Same goes, of course, for kerosene, as we can see here. The records show now all this were achieved between April to date. Taking a look at the next board that we see here, you can clearly see that illegal refineries have been identified with their exact coordinates right here. That is what the screen is showing us at the moment. As the transition to cleaner energy gained momentum across the world, Nigeria continued in its exploration of fossil fuel as part of the energy mix required to address its energy poverty. While Nigeria's oil sector recorded divestments to the tune of 20 trillion naira, Nigeria recorded a major milestone with the discovery of oil and the official flag-off of the Kolmani Integrated Project in Gombe and Bauchi states.
This discovery had emanated from our charge to NNPC to re-strategize and expand its oil and gas exploration footprints to the frontier basins of Anambra, Dahomey, Sokoto, Benue Trau, Chad, and Bida basins.
The Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission also announced a bid round to spur new exploration and drilling activities in Nigeria's deep waters, the first since 2007.
In this year mini bid round, 7 offshore blocks covering an area of approximately 6,700 kilometers in water depths of 1,150 meters to 3,100 meters is put on offer.
The signing of the handover of Adax Petroleum to the NNPC is no mean feat.
This is the first time in our history of hydrocarbon exploitation journey that a PSC asset is being reverted back to the concessionaire from the contractor. The asset is reported to have produced a record 6,000 barrels. We believe immediately we sign this, in another 2 weeks, we should be able to bring back, immediately restore about 10,000 barrels, and that will be a stage that will that will set a more incremental production.
As the year winds down, the fuel crisis reared its head once again, with long fuel queues dotting states across the country. As it was in the beginning, so it is in the end, as fuel prices sell way above the official price of 165 naira per litre, depending on location. This has raised questions on the status of fuel subsidy and its usefulness to the nation. While there are calls to end the subsidy regime, the federal government has projected 6.7 trillion naira for petrol subsidy payments in 2023, while the country's petroleum refineries remain non-functional. While it would have been nice to end this report on a positive note, the truth remains that Nigeria's oil and gas sector is bedeviled with a truckload of issues. Issues experts hope the continuous implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act will address in due course. I'm Onyi Sunday. Thank you for watching.